Okay, we're going to start the Q&A. I believe we are ready to start the Q&A. Fantastic. Just as we thought we had to wait a little bit longer. Yes, you can take that one, Daniel. Well done. Okay, so we have a question from one of your fans. And they want to know if you had to drive... Oh, this is quite a good question, actually. Well done. If you had to drive one car for the rest of your life, what car would you choose and why? Now, I think they've given quite a big hint here because they've used hashtag e-tron.
That's a really tough question. Probably I would not choose any of the currently existing cars because I think no car will survive the next, how long is it? Let's say maybe 70 years that I should still be alive. I think that will not work. So someone needs to come up with a car that lasts that long. Then I go for it. But
like
otherwise,
a long lifetime.
Yeah, a long lifetime. Otherwise, I don't know. At the moment, I would love to have the, the e-tron concept car that they showcased, which is not available yet. That's what I'm really looking forward.
You know the right people to make it happen.
Yes,
if anyone can, you can.
I'm gonna push to get it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, I still don't think you've really answered the question. Because that's not a car that you could actually drive tomorrow. I'm pushing him for an answer. I'm trying.
Which one would it be? RS6.
Nice. Okay, fair enough. Good answer.
But properly tuned.
But what?
properly tuned.
Properly tuned, okay. Oh, I see. Okay, you mean after you've had or you and your dad have had your fingers on it. Okay, another question is, the question is, when can I have a go in this sweet monster? I'm assuming that they mean the FE04.
Well, first, it's my task to go in this sweet monster. I also cannot wait to get in the car. Next week, we go to Valencia. So it's going to be really exciting to finally compete, to see where we are. Yeah. Everyone brings their new liveries, their new suits, their new drivers. And it's going to be really exciting.
I mean, how nerve-wracking is it going to testing? Obviously, there's no pressure of a race. But you could technically find out that your chances of winning this championship are slashed because all the other teams are so good. Or it could be the other way around. Of course, which is what we hope.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so exciting is you finally see if the work you already done, because, I mean, most of the testing work has already been done. Yeah. So now you finally see if it really pays off, if we are in a shape to compete at the front. It's always good to see that, and it's a good feeling to be back with everyone. And I don't feel much pressure because in the past we've been strong. I think we can only get stronger now with Audi. So I hope, I believe, and I predict that we will be in good shape. Mm-hmm. But there's not much more that I can say for now.
We've had another question, and they want to know, what's the hardest thing about Formula E? I guess that means to do with the driving a car, or maybe the racing format, that one-day racing format when you're all exhausted.
Yeah, I was going to go to that. I think the hardest thing in Formula E is to have a full day without mistakes.
Yeah. Because
that's really a key if you want to be successful, is you have to start in free practice. Everything has to work from the mechanic to the engineer to yourself. You cannot crash the car. You cannot do anything wrong. You need to make sure you run every lap. Or as many laps as possible, and only if all that works, that's when I believe you can be successful in Formula E.
Does it kind of have a cascading effect? If you make an error in FP1, does that sort of have a ripple effect throughout the rest of your day?
Definitely. If you have an error, if let's say you crash in FP1, you still suffer in FP2, you suffer in qualifying because you didn't run as much in FP2, and because of all that, you're not starting the race where you want to be. So it's a mess, and we've seen that in the past. Sometimes you need to be, a bit less at the limit maybe, but then just make sure everything runs smooth, everything runs right, and in the end, the outcome is much bigger.
Someone else wants to know, who do you think the most competitive team will be this season, apart from Audi, obviously?
It's hard to judge, but I mean, looking at the past 3 seasons, I think it will be Renault again, just because they've been always strong. I don't see why they should not be strong again. They will maybe work even harder after they've been beaten in that way last season. So who knows? There's some unknowns like Jaguar that could be really strong. Hard to predict, really. But, of course, I hope it's us at the top.
Somebody else wants to know, what do you think of the move of Nelson Piquet to Jaguar?
I've seen Nelson at the Oktoberfest, by the way.
What?
Yeah, just a few days ago. Yeah, I was shocked. He was there with Max Verstappen. Actually, we met.
Amazing.
So small world, but I think for Nelson it's a good move. I think for Jaguar it's a good move. I don't understand why they didn't do it already when they came in, because in Formula E you need experience, you need to have knowledge, and for them to take two, let's say, drivers that have no knowledge in Formula E is a really tough task.
Yeah.
So I think they realized this now and went to take Nelson, who obviously is a really good driver, who understands Formula E, who was the first champion. So I think he's someone to watch out for sure.
Brilliant. Well, Daniel, thank you so much. I think we should probably go and find your teammate, although I don't know where he is. He's probably off having drinks with his new boss. He's doing the networking. He's getting in there before you.
We can take Allan. Allan
McNish. Allan McNish, come and join us. Come over. He's busy socialising already. That's not what team principals do. Team principals are supposed to work hard.
Does this mean I'm out, or?
It means you're out,
okay,
yeah.
I'm out.
I mean, you could stay, but I think we've had enough of Daniel for now.
Thank you very much.
Daniel, thank you.
Quick driver change.
Right, you're in the hot seat. The only problem is, no one's actually asked you any questions.
Oh my goodness, not even my wife.
Actually, no, maybe we have. We had a question from your lovely wife. No, actually, there is one question for you. And they want to know, obviously, you've been part of Formula E since... Well, you've been what shall we say, an observer in the garages. How much more work are you going to have to do?
How much more work? Well, it depends how hard they work as opposed to how much more work I've got to do. I come back to it, though, because I remember I was at the first season in Monaco. I went to the race there, and then I came to Berlin in season 2. And then it's been in season 3 where it got quite busy.
But is that because you were working? Because you were doing a bit of commentating?
The first one was purely as a spectator. Actually sat in the grandstands at the swimming pool complex and watched everything unfold from there. So I've seen the championship unfold. But in terms of the actual sharp end and what we do, it'll be a little bit more. But in reality, I was pretty busy anyway. You know, the Abt guys, they like to make sure that everybody that's in that garage is active and doing something.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to work on the car. You've only got 20 people can actually physically work on the car. And so that's something about the regulations. So the majority of the work is actually done behind the scenes and very often outside the garage, just making sure that everything's running according to plan.
I quite like this question here from Matthias Ekstrom.
Matthias Ekstrom?
Yes. Indeed. He says, how funny do you rate the Buemi chat after the last race today?
The last race of last year.
I think that's what they're implying.
Yeah, it was without doubt one of the most bizarre things I have seen on television. Because, first of all, I've known Buemi for a long time, and it was very, very much out of character, I have to say. To the point where I was thinking, has he bumped his head? You know, and clearly he had when he had the accident. But it was something that is, well, from a television perspective, it was TV gold for yourself and Dario and Jack commentating on it in a way, because, you know, it's just unfolding in front of you. But it just shows you the intensity, though, the intensity that's in it, because this is something I think it's difficult for people at home maybe to understand. For Lucas and for Sebastian, one of them was effectively going to win the championship. And it's been a championship that's gone around the world for 9 months. There's been a lot of investment of time and energy, and one is not. And that was the key pivotal point, in my opinion, was basically that race and then that, I would say, outburst. And ultimately the next day it was down to Lucas to pick up the title and to pick up that trophy. But it was definitely probably not Sebastian's finest hour.
No. Do you think we'll see it again?
Sorry?
Could we see it again?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I think the accident he had in free practice was a bigger accident than maybe most people expected. And I've been in a racing car, and you have these incidents, and the adrenaline forces you on, and you keep on going. But certainly, it was a tough one for him. Okay,
next question for you. How involved will Audi be with the fans, and will they ever offer VIP treatment to loyal fans like they did to me? From Scott Wiseman.
Scott Wiseman.
Scott
We're glad
Wiseman.
Scott enjoyed himself.
He did.
I suppose
Scott.
the fact that this is on Facebook Live sort of suggests what the approach is. Very open. We're in a position now where I think the championship, it allows you to maybe be a little bit more open in that respect, and this is the future. The way we're attacking it is to be out there and with the fans, because that's the thing about the championship as well. It goes to the races, so the fans are quite up close and personal, and get to see it. The VIP treatment that obviously you got there, Scott, that was very special just for you.
He also wants to know, will you support the push for a British race, given that you have so many fans here?
Yeah, clearly. Britain is a huge part of the racing fraternity, and a big fan of supporting for British races, no question about it. But we've just got to find the right streets. The interesting thing is the Closed Roads Act was something that's gone through the British Parliament, which would allow a city to apply for one of 20 spaces every year to close the roads without having to do all the judicial work of making a special deal with the government. And this is something the MSA, the governing body in the UK, has organised. And so now it's effective, and that will make it much easier if Edinburgh, Glasgow, Dumfries wants to have maybe a Formula E race.
You didn't mention London there.
No,
sorry.
because Edinburgh, Glasgow and Dumfries, so it would be a lot easier for my mum to come along
I definitely heard London in there somewhere. Next question is from Sven Kannenberg. Have you signed an official reserve/development driver for season 4?
Well, actually, I was thinking about maybe coming out of retirement for that. Well, official reserve, we've got Daniel and Lucas, and so we don't expect or anticipate that there'll be any requirements for any reserve drivers.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Lucas even broke his foot and still managed to race, so I can see why you don't need a reserve driver.
It was funny in Berlin because he was limping a little bit, and, Brazilian footballers tend to limp a little bit if they, trip over a piece of grass or something like that. But then they said it was really quite sore after the race, and our doc sent him off to actually have a real x-ray, not just a bit of strapping to get him through. And then it was clear that he had quite a bit of damage to it, much more than I think anybody expected, apart from our doc who said, go and get that seen to as soon as you can.
I think we all felt quite bad afterwards because no one gave him any sympathy in the pit lane when he was hobbling around.
And we didn't give him any sympathy afterwards. We said, you've got to get back in the car, and the next race is more important than the last one.
Well, it obviously worked, whatever you said. I have another question. It's another... given that Alan is from Scotland, he pushed for a UK race, but I think we've covered that. Here's a good one, which I think we probably touched upon a little bit today. How difficult or easy was the decision to leave WEC and join Formula E?
It's very difficult, because for a few reasons, actually. One, the WEC was a very, very big part, and Le Mans was a very big part of, I would say, the making of the histories of Audi in motorsport. It was also the start of our electrification development as well, with the hybrid systems that were running on the R18. But you don't just switch off that history and emotion overnight. But, like every book, there's a change of chapter. And it was the time for a change of chapter. And so therefore it had to be done. But there's no question it was with a heavy heart, but at the same time it was also with other opportunities of something new, and looking forward to the new challenge and the fresh challenge and different parts of it as well. And so I think for the engineers it was something where they could switch off looking in one way, but they had to very, very quickly look in another direction. From myself, and Lucas mentioned it as well, it was a big part of our careers, but the times do divert, and motorsport is one big family in that respect, so you do see people bouncing back and forward and coming around.
Absolutely. Speaking of Lucas, where is he? Where's that Lucas de Grassi? We need to get him on our
Brazilian racing driver, Mark. If we know any Brazilian racing drivers,
we can see him currently,
maybe they could come up to the stage,
talking, gesturing, and I feel like he might have a lot of food in his hand. Yes. Hopefully he'll come over and join us.
He will do in a second. Have we got one more just to...
Yes, go on then. What are the developments?
Because Lucas does talk a lot. I will tell you that. He's probably got another minute or two here.
What are the developments in the new car? From Jason Birchall.
Jason, do you work for any of the opposition? I think is the first question. clearly,
he might not, but they'll definitely be listening.
Energy efficiency and the efficiency of the electric motor is one of the big parts. So we have gone to 1 gear. And we've also got different structure and casing around about the gearbox, which improves that, and also the rigidity. We've been able to work on the parameters that you're allowed to, so the rear suspension is part of that. The wheels and things we've already taken over from last year, so but principally it's on the drivetrain aspect of it, and there's been a big development there to ensure that we've got much better efficiency than we had already, and that was been a hard work between, I would say, Audi Sport and also, thank you very much, sir.
Oh, how very kind.
No, you were actually switching to you in a wee second, but I will take the coffee.
He was doing all the talking.
And so there's been a big switch there, but Audi Sport and Schaeffler have worked quite hard over the winter because we realised where the competition were, and we needed to pull out all the stops to make sure that we still stayed ahead of them in 2018 and 19. So right at this moment in time, we do another pit stop, and I shall switch over to your Formula E Season 3
We might not
champion.
have that pit stop for much longer, but hey-ho.
My boss used to be my teammate, now is my boss.
How is that, actually? That is I think that's a very interesting question.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want it?
How does that feel? Yeah, your teammate being turned into your boss.
The first race that I did in Audi was with Allan. With Allan and Tom. Interlagos 2012.
No way.
And then we raced again in Sebring together. And that was it. We raced twice in the prototype, and now he's team principal. And Allan has been helping us since last year already, getting up to speed with Formula E and all the different. Because it doesn't matter how much experience you have in motorsport, every category is different.
Yeah.
And so everybody that is doing this transition from Audi, let's say LMP or prototypes to Formula E, we need to get them with the Formula E mentality and get up to speed with the Formula E requests, needs, importance, priorities, etc.
So was he the right man for the job?
For sure, he's the right man, yes.
Now, we do have a question, actually, from somebody who wants to know, what are your thoughts on the upcoming e-GT Championship? I think that's the Electric GT Championship.
To be honest, there is there is at least 2 championships. Starting, there is the Electric GT Championship, and there is the support series of Formula E, also coming season 5, which are Electric GT. But I have very little experience with GT cars anyway. I did only a couple of races like Macau and Nordschleife, and so I'm not a GT specialist. So the chances I would drive a full championship in Electric GT is almost zero.
Misha wants to know, what do you think is the most significant change to last year's car?
Well, I guess I'll have to say the design. It's just amazing, but also every single component that we have in the car has been changed.
Wow, okay, so the team have been pretty busy.
Yes, they've been pretty busy. We've been pretty busy testing it, and I think we reach a very good goal. But like I said, we are only as good as the competition doesn't evolve that much. We know that Renault and the Renault drivetrain, they were very competitive last year. So the target is it's always to improve the maximum you can, but you can only be certain when you drive against them.
Do you think Renault are going to be the most competitive again?
They will be for sure very strong, but I don't. From what I heard, 7 out of the 10 teams, they are bringing completely new equipment or a completely new drivetrain. So and you have already a customer, so pretty much everyone is doing a new drivetrain apart from 2 teams. And so I guess everybody will do a big step. I think Formula E field will just be more competitive.
Eliana wants to know, how do you feel about your next race date in Chile in February?
Chile?
Maybe it's not the next race date, but...
Yeah, it's not the next one. We have Hong Kong,
races before
Hong Kong, Marrakesh, and then Chile. But I love Santiago. I've been there a couple of times. Almost all the times I went there for skiing because we have no snow in Brazil. So in July, which
I hope there's no snow when we go for the racing.
No, we have.
Although you've had experience.
No,
obviously,
it's January summer
cap.
for us.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So I'm really looking forward for Santiago. It'll be like a second home race, just like a preview for the São Paulo race for me. But I'm sure that the Chilean fans, they will be full there cheering for us.
This is a good question. Alistair Lindsay wants to know if you anticipate Audi or Schaeffler becoming involved in some manner with the robo-race concept. Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I like that one, Alistair.
Robo-race is something which I helped to start 1 year ago. And to be honest, we underestimated the challenges of becoming a driver. Which means that, of course, the artificial intelligence is something completely interesting for us to develop. And for me, the more we develop robo-race, the more we can get motorsport to the true purpose of motorsport, which is the driver are completely in control. The driver makes the difference, not the equipment. And that's the purpose of what I'm trying to make robo-race happen as a challenge, as an event. So we can transfer all this technology there. We can work with technologies that are very relevant for the road, but not relevant for motorsport. And then it will be just another showcase, it will be just another series which is fully focused on technology, and then they can leave us alone to do what we want, which is to drive the car.
So what is the plan for Robo-Race? Obviously, we see Robo-Race coming and doing a bit of testing at some of the races. What's going to happen next?
The next step for Robo-Race is to keep improving on the software, on the hardware, and bring in more companies, OEMs, Tier 1 suppliers, sensors, technology companies, universities, to join the program and to start showing their technology in autonomous vehicles.
Okay, next question. Oh, that's nice. No, you can't read the questions.
Why not?
Wait, just because that's cheating. I only pick the ones I want to ask you. Abdullah Makwar just says, I just want to say that you're my favourite driver and I love what you're doing with Robo-Race.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's a very nice comment. But let's choose this question from RF19. Interesting name. If you could choose, which city should have an E-Prix that hasn't had one yet? All the best for season 4.
Oh, that's a very good question. And I think I will answer Tokyo. Because
nice.
Japanese fans
love a bit of street racing.
Yeah, they love motorsport.
Style.
They love racing. They are fantastic. We did a demo with a Schaeffler car last year there, and there were a lot of people on the streets. They're very nice. The city of Tokyo is amazing. So Tokyo for sure has to be on the list.
Another question actually back on to the Robo-Race from Sven Kannenberg. Do you think there might be a risk that double the burden of driving, but also being CEO of Robo-Race is going to affect your concentration?
No. Of course, the priority is in Formula E. My priority is to win another title for Audi, for Schaeffler, for Abt, for myself. This is my main job. But Formula E, we have no testing between races. We have a limited amount of days we can run. The race itself is only at the weekends. So I have a lot of, not a lot, but I have some free time. And this free time, instead of doing nothing like many of my other colleagues, drivers, I will be fully focused on trying to develop this company, and it just will not affect at all my concentration on the amount of effort I put into Formula E.
Well, I guess not racing in the World Endurance Championship suddenly frees up quite a few weekends.
Exactly, that's another point. It's the same as saying that I won't. Actually, that's actually my main point. I forgot to say that I prefer to actually focus on this, which is something completely new, completely for me very interesting, than to do another series in parallel than Formula E.
Yeah.
Which is not relevant. So I prefer to focus on Formula E, my racing career with Formula E, with Audi. That will be amazing. And then on my spare time, I do a lot of other stuff apart from Robo-Race, but Robo-Race is now a good challenge.
Brilliant. Well, Lucas, thank you very much. Now, I don't know if you can spy. Is Dieter Gas amongst the crowd somewhere? See if we can get him up to have a quick word with us. Otherwise, that might be an end to our Facebook Live.
Right. Maybe he's on some other side.
I think everyone's just enjoying themselves far too much
yes.
here. They've decided to clock off, before the season really starts. Can we see him anywhere?
No. Maybe he's here. Yeah.
Well, have we got a Dieter Gas in the house? We're finished now. Excellent. Well, you can have the final word then. Come on, Lucas.
Thank you very much, Nikki. Thank you very much that everyone that is following us on social media. that followed us during this launch of the Season 4 Audi Sport
Abt Schaeffler. We can say it. I don't know whether anyone has noticed, but obviously on the
Audi
T-shirts,
Sport, yes.
this branding has been the wrong way for the last 2 years. So finally, we can actually say Audi Sport Abt Schaeffler in the right order.
Exactly. Audi Sport Abt Schaeffler, Season 4 Formula E launch here at Audi Sport headquarters in Neuburg. Thank you very much. Thanks for supporting us. Don't forget to vote on FanBoost. Follow us on social media. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the drivers and the team here. And also thank you to all the media that have come down and to everyone that's watching. Make sure you join us next week as we'll be heading to Valencia for testing. But that's all from us here. Goodbye.